Hi friends, if you clicked on this video, then congratulations, you and I are the exact same kind of person. The type of person who sees the word stats on a video and gets really excited about it. This will be the third year in a row that I do this in basically the exact same way. I'm gonna hit you with some numbers, and then we're gonna break down some categories. We're gonna look at patterns in titles and cover art and shit like that. None of this actually means anything to anyone except for me, and a lot of this doesn't even mean anything to me. I just like watching this in other people's videos, and I like doing the fake research regarding my own books. So here we are. Oh, there's Egg. Okay, I'm paying the egg tax. Here she is. So right off the bat, I will tell you that I read 47 books in 2025, which is 10 less than last year. I could beat myself up over that fact, but there would be no point. Life ebbs and flows, and so will your reading, and that is what I will continue to tell myself so that the imposter syndrome doesn't set in. But in all actuality, I am fine being a public-facing space in the book community that you can point at and say, hey, look, it's okay if I don't read X number of books in a year. It's okay if I'm a slow reader. It's okay if sometimes I only read 2 books in a month. It's okay if there are times when you have to deprioritize reading so that you can prioritize other things in your life. Sometimes there will be months where you have to prioritize physical health, mental health, family, work, friends, and sunshine. I always read less during the summer because I'm outside more and I'm with friends more. And that's okay. That's good and that's healthy. So I talk about imposter syndrome kind of as a joke. I do wish that I could read faster. I wish that I could read more books in a year, but I'm also okay with the level that I'm at. My average star rating was 3.87, which is almost the exact same as the year before. That feels great, especially considering the fact that it would have been even higher if I hadn't forced myself to read 3 books from a genre that I know that I hate. And so this is the rating spread for 2025. If you notice that 1.5 star on there, which is generally a place I never see fit to go, that's because I realized that giving The Gods Time Forgot 2 stars was not fair to the other 2 stars in that category. So I had to drop it down to a 1.5, which means that I've only given one other book ever a lower rating than The Gods Time Forgot. But that is a story for perhaps a future video. Wink wink. Why are you leaving? Don't leave me! My top 5 moods according to Storygraph were dark, emotional, adventurous, mysterious, and tense, which I'm pretty sure is the exact same year after year. I read one single book that was categorized as lighthearted. 36% of my reads were 2025 releases, and 64% were backlist, although only 43% were like backlist, because 21% were 2024 releases. So like barely backlist. Should I? Yeah, let me tell you my favorite 2025 releases. I'm gonna go with, in no specific order, Sunrise on the Reaping, When the Wolf Comes Home, When the Tides Held the Moon, The Night and the Moth, and Ocean. Obviously. Also, obviously, least favorite is The Gods Time Forgot, and then right above that would be In the Veins of the Drowning. Also, the oldest book I read was The Yellow Wallpaper, which was first published all the way back in 1892, and that helps us transition into book-length stats, because The Yellow Wallpaper was also the shortest book that I read this year. It sits at 32 pages. Goodreads and Storygraph both have it as like 64 pages, but that's including a foreword and an afterword. The actual story itself is only 32 pages. And the longest book I read is Kingdom of Ash, which sits at 984 pages, which also happened to be the very first book that I read in 2025. 28% of the books that I read were under 300 pages, 60% were between 300 and 500 pages, and 13% were over 500 pages. This is a huge difference from last year, or from 2024, when 64% of my books were under 300 pages. No idea why. Apparently I was having a big novella year in 2024. By the way, if you're just listening to this video, Egg is inside my sweatshirt. That's what's happening here. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do... Stop it. Okay, alright. Wait. Okay. The stat that I actually want to talk about, which is going to change big time this year, is fiction versus non-fiction books. Look at that. This is an exercise in humiliation. Look at that and look at me. Perceive my shame. Yeah, that is one single non-fiction book for all of 2025. Once upon a time, before I started this channel, at least a quarter of my books every year were non-fiction, specifically nature, conservation, wildlife-based non-fiction. And now there's this catch-22 going on, where because of this channel, which I love, and I am not complaining about, this is just a fact, but because of this channel and all of the hours that have to go into planning, scripting, editing, filming, etc., I'm reading less books than I was pre-channel, and I have a job that I have to frame all of this around. And in the past I have done stupid shit like forcing myself to read romance when I could be reading my beloved nature conservation books. But this part, at least, is changing in 2026 for sure. I have been talking about starting a Patreon once I hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and now suddenly I'm 20 subscribers away from 10,000 on YouTube, which is insane and also means I need to solidify some fucking plans. But what I also want to do alongside a Patreon is start a non-fiction book club. And I mean as like a completely separate entity, not part of an exclusive club. Hi, do I need a No. Oh. Okay, we're back. I had to pick up a phone call from my brother. I think this is where I left off. Anyway, I want to start this non-fiction book club that's a completely separate entity. It's not part of an exclusive club. It's not behind any kind of a paywall. I don't want anything getting in the way of people's motivation to read more about our natural world and conservation efforts if the motivation does so strike them. So, by this time next year, I will most definitely be reporting a higher ratio of non-fiction books than this disgusting 2% right here, and hopefully some of you will be able to share in that number with me. Anyway, moving on, the authors that I read from the most this year were Stephanie Meyer and Suzanne Collins, with 4 Twilight books and 4 Hunger Games books, respectively. And oh my god, both of those vlogs were so much fun. I had such a good time reading these f***ing series this year. For the first time ever, somehow. And side note, I would like to do more videos where I read a whole series through. Pretend that I've never read a book in my life. What series would you recommend to me? What would you want to see me read through? I feel like Twilight and Hunger Games were the 2 big ones from childhood, aside from the British child wizard series, and I've never read those, but the author has, you know, f***ed that one up a tree by being a nasty old bitch. So obviously that's never happening. So you choose! I'm tired of making decisions. I don't want to make any more decisions. Tell me what series to binge, preferably classic childhood ones. Okay, anyway, Rachel Gillig came in next with 3 books, and then Brahm and Nat Cassidy tied with 2 books each. Big year for fantasy series and like funky horror. 28 of the books that I read were standalones. Can I do something fun here? Let's choose my favorite in each column of this little graphic I made. Okay, these are the 28 standalones. In that first column, my favorite is obviously When the Tides Held the Moon. Second column, Krampus. Third column, Hamnet by like a long shot. Fourth column, Slewfoot, obviously. Fifth is, oh no, fifth has We Used to Live Here and it's We Used to Live Here because that was my #1 of the year. Sixth column is obviously Ocean, although the yellow wallpaper was also in my top 10 of the year. I also loved Normal People. Ministry of Time was fine for me. Open Heaven is my favorite in the final column. Was that fun? It was fun for me. Was it fun for you? So 28 standalones, and then 19 books were part of a series. And that includes 2 entire series, unless we're getting another Hunger Games book, which I've heard whispers, rumors about. 1 complete duology, the end of a duology, the end of a series, the first book in 3 duologies, the first book in 2 series, and 2 continuations in series. And then somehow with the exact same numbers, I read 28 books from authors that were new to me, and then 19 books from authors I'd read from before. And now we get to do a genre breakdown. I read 19 fantasy books. This included When the Tides Held the Moon, Quicksilver, Night and the Moth, and then obviously the whole Twilight series. I read 10 sci-fi books, obviously the entire Hunger Games series, and then a few duds, and then a few that were just middle of the road. 2026, I need to find some new sci-fi favorites. Sci-fi is usually a big success for me, and it wasn't quite that this year. I read 9 horror books. Bangers. Almost all of, actually, you know what? Either absolute f***ing bangers or We Used to Live Here, When the Wolf Comes Home, Slewfoot, Krampus, amazing. Through the Midnight Door, Ghost Station, ugh, boring. So boring. Painfully boring. I read 5 literary / miscellaneous fiction books, which the number needs to go up next year also. I did not have a single bad miscellaneous fiction book this year. The Husbands was the most middle of the road book for me. Normal People and Open Heaven both, I think, got 4 or 4.5s. And then obviously Hamnet and The Yellow Wallpaper both made my top 10 books of the year. I read 3 romance books, which is not gonna happen. Actually, fairly soon, within the next month, there will be one last video like ever that will include romance books in it. But it's gonna be way more fun than what I did last time. Wait for Valentine's Day. We'll have a little bit more fun with it. And then I read the one single non-fiction book, which was Ocean by David Attenborough, which is one of my favorite books of the year. And I will say it again because I've been saying it in every video. I've talked about this book so much that people maybe are getting sick of it.
Honestly, if I hear about David Attenborough one more time...
Sorry, you're gonna hear about it at least one more time, if not 100,000 more times on this channel. David Attenborough, Ocean. Either read the book or watch the documentary or do both. Okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm gonna take a quick break and go eat the sushi that just got delivered to my house. I'll see you in about 2.5 milliseconds for you. I'll be right back. Okay, we're so back and I am so full of sushi. And now all we have left is talking about titles and visual stats. For titles, the most commonly used words across all of the titles of the books that I read in 2025 were drowning or drowned, night, last, midnight, moon, 7, time. Each of those being used twice total. There were 11 titles that had words that had to do with time or the passage of time, like dawn, days, June, last, midnight, sunrise, time, twilight, and year. There were only 4 titles that had animals in the name. It's usually a lot more than that, so I was kind of surprised. But that is Mockingjay, Butcherbird, Moth, and Wolf. 12 titles had words that had to do with nature, including ash, bones, currents, dawn, earth, eclipse, fire, island, moon, ocean, soil, sunrise, tides, wild, and wilderness. 3 titles included words that were body parts, all internal, bones, skin, and veins. And 3 titles had words that are things that you can do to bodies. Breaking, bury, drowning. We had a few colors and numbers. Red, yellow, silver, 1, 2, 7, and 7. We had 8 book titles that included words that had to do with buildings or parts of buildings. Cathedral, door, home, hotel, library, station, wallpaper, and window. I also noticed a theme 2 years ago that a lot of the books that I read wind up having biblical or spiritual or religion-based words used in the titles, which is strange considering that I'm not religious at all. And this year we had words like cathedral, crowns, fire, ghost, gods, heaven, kingdom, ministry, and clear, if you're a Scientologist. I also keep track of whether the words used in the titles of these books skew negative or positive. I don't know what I'm going to wind up doing with this information, so for now I'm just keeping track of it. The number of titles that use words with negative connotations are 23, including adrift, ash, bane, breaking, bury, butcher, dark, drowned, drowning, fire, forgot, ghost, heartless, hides, hunter, hunger, Krampus, last, refuse, slip, stop, twisted, and used. And as per usual, there are less positive words. 16 titles include words with positive connotations, including cheerfully, clean, clear, dawn, dream, earth, fate, heaven, held, home, library, live, love, new, normal, ocean, open, rest, sunrise, wild, and wilderness. And now we get to move on to my favorite part of this, which is the visual stats. So let's look at colors first. There were 4 book covers that were mostly red, 4 book covers that were orangey yellow, 4 book covers that were mostly green, 2 that were a pretty even green-blue split, and 12 covers that were mostly blue. There was exactly 1 purple cover and 1 pink cover. There were 4 covers that were mostly black, white, and gray, and 4 covers that were black, white, and gray with a very distinct pop of red. There were 4 covers that did this very distinct thing where they had a shade of blue basically color blocked with a warm tone shade. So deep blue and orange, light blue and yellow, orange and teal. And then there were 7 covers that had too big of a mixture, just a color mush for me to choose any one category to put them in. There were 8 covers that had some kind of celestial attribute on them. Suns, moons, stars, that kind of thing. There were 24 covers with people on them, or at least parts of people. Some of them only had like hands, arms. Rest Stop only had eyeballs. And they're not even people eyeballs, they're like googly eyes. I'm gonna count it, they're eyeballs. There were 21 covers that had animals somewhere on them, and that included 1 deer, 3 snakes, 10 birds, 1 goat, 2 turtles, 2 butterflies, 4 moths, 1 centipede, 1 wolf, 1 rabbit, 1 jaguar, 2 fish, 1 3-headed dog, 1 merman, and 1 Krampus. The merman and the Krampus, that could be argued that they're more human than animal, but I'm still going to count it here anyway. There were 24 book covers that had plants or some kind of foliage on it, 11 book covers with some kind of water element on it, waterfalls, rivers, lakes, oceans, pools, more oceans, more rivers, and there were 8 covers that had houses or castles on them, including 2 ladders leading up to absolutely nowhere. And if you are curious, these are my top 10 favorite covers of the year. I once again, for the 3rd year in a row, have not examined why I love these covers the most. I assume at some point in the future I'll use this information and make some kind of video out of it, but for right now, this is just for you to look at. And that is it. That's fully it. Let me know about patterns you've seen in your own reading. Let me know what your favorite book was you read last year. Let me know what you think about my patterns. Whatever you've noticed today, let me know what your favorite book cover was. Or if you know book covers that are similar to my favorite book covers. And maybe that's the video that I'll wind up making with all this information. Anyway, that's it. So thank you for being here. If you can hear me, you can read all these subtitles. I love you. I appreciate you. I hope we're doing really well in the new year so far. I hope you're about to have a great weekend. That's it. I love you. Bye. You want to go under here? Come here. Come up here. Hi. Okay. Oh, where are you going? Oh, I feel like I'm an alien. Come back, come back. Yeah, just be chill. Oh, oh no. Be so chill. Okay. Okay, good night. Come here. What are you doing? Why are you so stinky?